Okay, because we've been talking about art a lot lately, I want to talk about something very specific. Instead of talking about big things, let's talk about a small thing. Let's talk about Caravaggio. Now, a lot of the times when you're confronted with Caravaggio, you're only seeing the paintings that he left behind, and they're very violent and they're very dark, right? And they have these red curtains that signify blood spray, right? And you see like he's got like a sword or a knife to somebody's throat, or someone's getting their head cut off, and it's usually some women that are like cutting off the heads of men. You probably have seen this stuff, right? So now, if we talk about Caravaggio, know that his real name was Michelangelo Merisi de Caravaggio. And obviously, it's the name that blazed like fire through the Baroque world. And it was brilliant, it was violent, and he was very tortured. All right. Caravaggio, I believe, was born around 1570, 1571. He was born in a small town called Caravaggio. That's how he got his name. It's near Milan, and he was born just as the plague was sweeping through Italy. Therefore, he was orphaned young, and he carried this grim reminder and this grim understanding of death with him wherever he went, and it haunted his canvases and for the rest of his life. Early on, he started off in these like painting mills where he was painting still life canvases one after another, which made him good. By his 20s, Caravaggio had moved to Rome. He was starving, though. He was this swaggering kind of loudmouth, and he was painting with a new kind of realism. And his saints looked like peasants, hadn't been done. His Madonnas looked like courtesans or whores, right? And he didn't realize beauty. He lit it from the gutter. And he showed what real people looked like and what real people looked like elevated. Thus, this guy changed art forever, and Caravaggio made the sacred human, right? But while his fame rose, so did the fury around all of the art that he was creating at this time. He carried a sword illegally everywhere he went. He killed a man, some say over gambling debts, others claim it was a duel over a woman. That probably made more sense. Either way, in roughly 1606, he fled Rome, had a price on his head. The local government and the church were kind of, not happy with him. So he found refuge with the Knights of Malta, hoping that their protection might earn him, papal forgiveness. Now, if you know anything about the Knights of Malta, there were the Knights of the Cross. These were the folks that, had gone out on the Crusades. And so for a time it worked. He'd painted their leaders with the same brutal honesty that he brought to the saints and the sinners, and everybody loved it. This guy, he couldn't do any wrong. But with Caravaggio, there was always chaos. He fought a high-ranking knight, possibly wounded him, and he was jailed, but then he escaped, right? And some say with some inside help. And then he was expelled from the order, the Knights of Malta, right? And then they called him a foul and rotten member, and then they set out to hunt him down. And this was going on for a series of years that they hunted him down. And then he was wounded in the face, and possibly there was another ambush, and his later works grew darker and more desperate. David with the head of Goliath is believed to be a self-portrait, and the killer, seeing himself as the condemned, right? And so these paintings are just, they tell a tale that's violent, but it's really of his own life. And around 1610, about 38, he had set out by boat for Rome. He was close to receiving a pardon, again from the papacy, but something happened. I think it was like he never got to his destination, and a lot of people think that the Knights of Malta caught up with him, and they say that they had murdered him on a beach on orders from powerful enemies and from the Pope, and he was found alone, in Porto Ercole. He had no last words and no grave. Caravaggio lived as he painted, in these deep extremes of light and shadow, and in his hands he had holiness, and he bled with these sinners, and he wept, and there was redemption, and these flickering candles. And his life was one of just deep visuals. He painted truth even when it was ugly, and for that the world remembers him not as a saint but as something more. He was dangerous, and he was an artist, and he was an artist who lived dangerously from the first moment to the last. I hope you found this valuable. I hope you found it enlightening, and I hope it makes you think differently when you hear the word artist, because oftentimes artist is not a safe word. It is not a safe place, and it makes you think about what you're going to produce with all the free time that you've been given. Okay? All the best. Choose life. Practice kindness. Speak to others in the way that you wish to be spoken to. And above all else, think about what you're going to produce with your life.